Okay, now we're ready to start learning how to perform a basic edit inside of Premiere Pro. Now we've already come in and created a project called Basic Editing. We've already used the media browser to import these media files into the project. We have a bin that we've created organized with the audio inside, a sequence that we've created by dropping a piece of video onto the timeline. We've called that sequence Basic Editing, and here's the video that we've imported into the project using the media browser. Now, what we also have with this project is a script to follow. I'm going to switch over to the script now. And what we're going to do here, this is a typical two-column script with audio on the left and video shots on the right. As the audio comes up and the announcer says the first line of the dialogue is, "If we don't save the rainforest, what will happen?" The shot that we put is a fade in on the lagoon shot that we have. Then right after that we have music cutting in right after this line, and as this music plays we've got the next shot, Jungle Run. And then as we keep following this script, the next line of dialogue is said by a child. It says, "The trees will all fall down." During that piece of dialogue the shot will be the tree pan. So that's a typical description of how a two-column script is used. So let's go back and do this very first thing. So what we want to do is lay in this audio shot here. So let's go get the dialogue media and put it on the timeline. So we'll come here to the audio. Let's just make this a little bit bigger so we can read all of this. So here is the voiceover file. We'll go ahead and follow the typical Premiere Pro workflow as we double click it and load it into the source monitor. Now let's just take a brief listen. Let's bring the current time indicator all the way back to the beginning of the clip and play. Now we could press the button here, or we can use the space bar as the tooltip is indicating there. Let's just use the space bar.
If we don't save the rainforest, what will happen?
The trees will all fall down.
Okay, so there's the first two lines of dialogue that are described in the script here. If we just flip back to it here. If we don't save the rainforest, what will happen? Now what we didn't see there was this music is cutting in because we haven't laid the music down on the audio tracks yet. But then here's the second line of dialogue, "The trees will all fall down." So what we want to do is let's go ahead and lay in this audio first, because that's what we're going to cut to. But let's go ahead, and what we have to do is target this particular piece of audio. We're going to use this target track here and target it to the A1 audio track. Now there is this, if we notice the icon here, is a audio only clip. There is no video associated with it, so there's no video target tracks available down here in the timeline. So what we're going to do is take the current time indicator and bring it all the way left. Make sure we're at 0 time code, so we're at the beginning of the project. And here we've already marked in right at the beginning. Let's go all the way left and mark I for in. So we're right at the beginning of the voiceover. And let's go ahead and create our first edit. Now, the two main edits that you use most of the time are overwrite and insert. The majority of edits are overwrite, and when it comes time to use an insert, I'll explain that. What an overwrite does is it will take the endpoint here and match it to the endpoint on the timeline, and then lay down however much video or audio until we have an out point. Now, we have not marked an out point in this clip, so it's going to take the entire clip. It will take from the endpoint where we've marked all the way to the end of the clip. So let's go ahead and perform this overwrite edit, and you'll see here it is down on the timeline. Now let's go here and just play it briefly.
If we don't save the rainforest, what will happen?
The trees will all fall down.
Okay, so that's what we've done. Now, what we said is we wanted to take this, if we go back to the script just briefly, is we want to take this music cut in, that's going to cut in right after this first line here. So right after it says, "If we don't save the rainforest, what will happen?" That's where the music needs to start. So let's go here and load up our music track. Again, it's an audio only track. So let's play it. Let's bring the playhead all the way back to the beginning. There's some sound effects here. And that's right where the music cuts in. So let's get it. Just use the arrow key on the keyboard to go forward. It's the step forward is the right arrow key. So let's step backwards. Right there is where it looks like it's starting. Again, let's mark in. So we have a mark in here right where the music beat is starting, and let's come back down here to the timeline. So what we want is we want to set our endpoint here to be right where the line of dialogue is ending.
If we don't save the rainforest, what will happen?
The space bar to stop, mark in there. So again, what we're going to do is the end point here, which is right at that music point, is going to go on the timeline exactly where this endpoint on the timeline is asking, which is right at the end of that first line of dialogue. Now, we have to be careful here with the target tracks. We have to make sure that we're sending this audio to the proper track. Right now, the track that is targeted is A1 again. So if we do an overwrite, watch what happens. It does exactly what overwrite says it will do. It writes over the voice that was there with the music. So let's just play this briefly. It doesn't work out.
If we don't save the rainforest, what will happen?
Now there's no more dialogue. So we're just going to undo that. Edit, undo, or the keyboard shortcut Control Z. And all we're going to do is we still have our endpoint here at the right point, right at the end of the first line of dialogue. We still have our endpoint in the clip, right where the music starts. All we need to do is pull this target track down to the A2 track and perform the overwrite edit again. Now you'll see that we have both the dialogue and the music is starting at the exact right point.
If we don't save the rainforest, what will happen?
The trees will all fall down.
Okay, so that's how we've created our first basic edit.